Hey, what's up, guys? Chad Hermansen here with Mental Edge Training Coach. Welcome back to the show. I have an exciting guest for you today, Ron Quintana. Q is what I call him. And I met when I was playing in Las Vegas in AAA here out in Vegas with my family. Awesome year. It was actually a year I was really just rehabbing and trying to get healthy through a torn labrum that I had in my shoulder. And we became pretty close as we would do some workouts together when we play catch and throw and all that stuff. But Q is the head baseball coach at Mountain Vista out in Highlands Ranch in Colorado. So Q is my kind of bird dog assistant scout, if you will, when I was scouting with the Angels. So he helped give me an extra pair of eyes while I was out scouting for the Angels during that time. So we're going to talk a lot about baseball, of course. We're going to talk about his career, how he got into training, what it's like to build a culture, not necessarily from the ground up, because there's a couple coaches before him, but creating a culture for 60, 70 guys that are coming in new every year and getting players excited, right, about wanting to get better and perform. So he does a fantastic job out in Mountain Vista. So enjoy this conversation with him. And as always, as a reminder, I'm coaching athletes and parents in their mental and emotional game. I have a new website that you can take a look at where I have information to get signed up with me. So you can go to chadhermansencoaching.com, and there I have an application form for you to fill out. I would encourage a parent to fill out that information, especially if you have a minor as a son or a daughter. So fill that form out, include your name as the parent, your player, what sport they're in, and kind of their struggles that they're going through. So you'll just fill out that form. I will text you or call you to get a call set up because I want to learn more about your athlete to see if we would be a good fit. If they want to receive coaching, right? Of course, they need to be willing and wanting to have a mental skills / life coach. And during this whole process too, I'm also coaching the families. Some of my families have two athletes, and I'm actually really enjoying coaching the parents of some of these athletes because it's not necessarily about coaching them about their son or daughter, but a lot of conversation is revolved around the athlete, as you can imagine. So again, go to chadhermansencoaching.com to fill out that application and enjoy this conversation with Coach Ron Quintana. All right, Ron Quintana, what's up, man? How we doing today?
All right, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I don't want to call you Ronald. Should I call you Ronald? I see your name down there.
Well, like I always say, you call me something I've never been called before, I might get offended. But it started. If you grew up with me, it was Ronnie.
Right.
High school, college. Then I got into Ron. Then it got into Q.
Q.
And then now it's Coach Q.
So Coach Q. Yeah.
It's just developed.
Yeah. You're known as Q to me. So Ron and I met in AAA with the Dodgers organization. You were our strength coach, and
Yes.
I got to live at home playing for the 51s at the time at the old Cashman Field. And man, what a beautiful place that was, huh?
Oh, I loved it. It was hot, but that's what you want for a baseball player, right? I mean, I live in Colorado right now, and it rained and little snow flurries, and we have a game today, so I'm a little nervous if we're going to get it in or not. So I would take the Las Vegas weather over this any day.
Yeah, no, I guess in reference to Cashman Field, right?
Oh, yes. Well, aren't they building a new one now? Possibly the A's are coming to town.
Well, yeah. So we have a new AAA field that's been a few years now. The ballpark, which is just amazing. It's really awesome. And then of course the news of the A's coming to town here. So Vegas is hopping with all these professional teams. It's pretty cool.
It should. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
I mean, add them all four major sports in there. So.
That's right.
And it's nice too because the Raiders and the Broncos.
Yeah.
Nice little vacation.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're a huge Broncos fan.
I am. Right. We've been struggling. So.
Well, you got Russell Wilson, man. You guys are set.
Yeah. There's always a reason other teams get rid of players.
But a whole other story, right?
Yeah, that could be another hour.
Whole other story. Well, good, man. Well, I'm excited. So we met AAA. You were my bird dog scout, kind of associate scout in Colorado for a little while. You're now out at Mountain Vista High School in Colorado, Highlands Ranch.
Yes, south of Denver.
south of Denver, like
about
in
20, 30
very,
minutes south of Denver.
very beautiful area out there. I went out there a few times and saw you. But before all of that, you actually had a baseball career. You were a baseball player.
I did. I mean,
Yeah.
I always tell people you had those shirts back in the day that was baseball is life. And
Yeah.
it for me, yes. Baseball took me places that I probably would have never gone or, seen or met all around the world. So, baseball, high school career. I was a sport athlete, all state in football, all state in baseball. I was fortunate to get some scholarships. Started out at Crowder Junior College in Neosho, my hometown. I've known the coach, Gary Rourke, my whole life. He's actually a Colorado guy. Played with his son in high school, so he was able to watch me quite a bit. Had other offers. Just financially, it fit to stay home. Played a good junior college, get 2 years in, play a lot of baseball. And then I signed with Dave Van Horn when he was at Northwestern State. From Crowder, went down to Louisiana, Natchitoches, Louisiana. I don't know if you remember the movie Still Magnolias, but it was shot, and that's their claim to fame.
I can say I've not seen Still Magnolias.
Well, you should.
I've seen a lot of movies, but I haven't seen that one yet.
It's a good movie. Watch with your wife.
Okay, yeah.
Not by yourself, but probably a good date night movie.
My wife would be like, "What's happening here? What's going on?"
So that was their claim to fame. 2 years there under Dave Van Horn, and when I was done playing, I had an option to go play some independent ball. Was doing the math and the money and travel. I decided I made the correct decision in going back and getting my degree. And while I was sitting at a restaurant, guy was pulled up a seat next to me, and we started talking. And he happened to be the new strength coach, and he was from Springfield, Missouri, so small world. And we started talking, and I love baseball. I love working out. Why not? It was a great fit. So I was a strength coach at Northwestern State for a year and a half, and starting the second year. It's about the same time, low A, everything was getting ready to kick off. And Chris Millfield, which actually coached at Maplewoods Junior College, which we played in Kansas City, so small world once again, was calling around looking for baseball guys in strength conditioning. And Sean McCann was our pitching coach from Missouri. That's after Van Horn left for Nebraska, him, Childers, John Cohen was our head coach. Got the job, brought Sean with him from Missouri, and was asking for guys. And he goes, "Well, Ron Quintana." He goes, "Well, hold up, I know him." That was a Wednesday. Background check on a Thursday. I flew out on a Friday to Yakima, Washington, for mini camp. So it was just
it happened that fast.
Seat of my pants right there at that point. Like,
how old were you at this point?
Oh man, I think I was 22.
So you're just a baby getting out of college.
Dream, hey, Dodgers. Okay, let's go. I'm going to make it somehow. If I'm not as a player, I'll make it as a strength coach. So I went to Yakima, ended up in Great Falls, Montana. Was my first season. And from there, just kind of moved up the ranks, earned the trust of Millfield, and then I'm trying to think of his name, the head guy, earned their trust. And so I kind of went where there was the prospects, where we had a lot of money with the Dodgers. So to work with them, just watch them on and off the field, make sure they're getting ready because they're going to get called up. Went from Great Falls to Vero Beach, home, spring training home. 2 years there. Then I went out to Vegas, and that's where we met. I spent 2 years out there. And then we had a group of prospects coming up. Your James Loneys, your Russell Martins, Chen Feng Chen, all those guys. Matt Kemp. Sean Kemp played basketball.
That's right.
But he's not right now, not doing very well. Bad news on him. But I went back to Jacksonville for the Jacksonville Suns, the AA team. It was prospects everywhere. So it was a lot of making sure they're doing the right things on and off the field, make sure they're staying healthy, and from there was that transition. Do I want to move up and be a coordinator? And about that time, I'm pretty sure they made a manager's change. And as you know, when they make changes, it rolls downhill and everybody gets affected. So I was let go just because they were making changes, nothing that I did. And I thought it was a good time to get out and start another chapter of my life, and got into strength and conditioning off the field and personal training. But something was missing. Don't know what it was. Couldn't figure it out. Living on a beach, personal training. Thought I had it made, but something was missing. And at that time, I made a call to my brother that lived in Denver, and we were talking a little bit. And I decided to make the move to Colorado. I don't regret it. Love every second of it. My two beautiful kids. And then I was kind of getting into the Colorado scene, trying to figure out what I wanted to do there. My cousin got me a job as an in-house sub at a school. I started the football program, the strength program, school store. It was a small charter school. And about 4 years in, I had the itch to get back into baseball. Looked on CHSA to see if there's any job openings. Mountain Vista was one of them. And not knowing the schools, the athletic director at that point was like, "That's a good school." I said, "Well, I'm going to apply." And the first words out of his mouth was, "You won't get it." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You seen my resume?" I'm like, "Come on, man."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, you're not a Colorado guy." I was like, "I don't know what that means, but don't they want baseball guys?" And somehow I beat out two guys that I coach against now. And now I'm on my 13th season as head coach of Mountain Vista.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
it's interesting. Yeah. And that's interesting that he said you won't make it, because that's very common, right? Where I'm assuming school districts or athletic directors, they want to hire people they're very comfortable with, they're familiar with, that maybe homegrown. There might be a lot of different reasons. But I want to back up just a little bit. So when you were training in the Dodgers organization, you dropped some names there that many people would know, Matt Camp, all these guys. Was there anybody that you got close to, or that really kind of, I guess, took to your training? It's a little bit different than minor leagues. You're kind of on your own, but there's also plans. Sometimes you're forced to go lift, depending on
you get fined if you
get fined if you don't lift, right? And anybody that you like really got close to and got up to the Dodgers and did really well?
John Shoemaker, one of the managers, he's been lifetimer with the Dodgers. I still stay in contact with him. If I take my team, we go out to Arizona quite a bit. I'll usually make a phone call. We'll go visit, or him and I will go grab dinner or something. Player wise, I know David Ross and I were close until he got big time. He's kind of hard to get hold of now, but there was a lot of players. The training staff, obviously, because we worked close together. We do keep contact. Field crew guys. We had a guy from Jacksonville, Ed Atella, called me 3 weeks ago. He's now in Albuquerque, and he drove up for a concert and called and said, "You're still in Colorado?" And we met up. So I think you build relationships with a lot of people because you're involved with a bunch of people, managers, coaches, players that, if I'm being honest, watching David Ross play, I would have never thought he would end up with the career that he had, which was awesome for him. And, you're proud of that too, because you feel like you had a part of it, whether you did or not, but you were there, you helped him, you did the little things for him, because that's what our job was.
Right.
The trainer and myself, and you could probably talk about this too, but the trainers and the strength coaches are usually the two guys you go and talk to a lot, and there's things that you tell us that we keep unless it affects your game, and that's what one of the lessons that I learned early is, if something's bothering a player, don't say anything until you need to, some of these players, they're getting paid and this is their life, this is their life, and they want to make it to the big leagues. So you do everything possible as a strength coach and a trainer to keep them healthy and keep them on the field. And things happen, you can't control injuries. They're going to happen. You just try to prevent them. And I think that's where you build those relationships with players. Ricky Bell, one of my favorites. We play in Cincinnati, our high school in summer. We go out in Cincinnati and I make a phone call. Usually I have everybody listed, and wherever I'm going, I make a phone call and run into somebody. But I know you asked me before, like a funny story, and I was trying to think. I was like, there's some that are inappropriate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those actually. But Travis Easy, I don't know if you remember him, but he came in as a rookie, and I was at Great Falls, and I'm just fresh out of college, so I'm still in there swinging with the pitchers and doing everything. And Travis Easy showed up. He was a kid out of inner city of Baltimore. Mm. And, the rookies, everybody's signing, they're starting to come in. So you're doing physicals, and you don't know yet until you get on the field. Well, I've seen most of them at mini camp, but then the new guys, you don't know. And he comes in and he is taking BP, and he doesn't touch a ball.
In BP?
And I'm during BP, his first BP session. And so I'm standing behind the turtle, and I'm just watching, and I'm like, this guy got drafted? I just took one over the, off the wall. I was going deep. I'm like, man, I can still play. Yeah. He comes back around, and, that trust again, he comes up and he's in tears. He goes, I can't do this. I'm like, dude, this is easy. Wait till they're throwing 90 and the ball's moving everywhere. I was like, good luck.
Right.
So your question, like, why is he? Well, the next round, they said, just put a bunt down and run it out. During BP, let's just see. He puts a bunt down, and he's like a 3-4-1-3 something. I go,
it's crazy
okay.
Speed. Yeah,
I got it.
That's why he got drafted.
That's why he got drafted. I see. So season goes on. He doesn't have a great season. I move on. I go to Vero Beach, and he's kind of going through the levels, and I see him 3 or 4 years later in spring training, and this dude is switch hitting and dropping bombs. I'm like, who'd you hit with? Because one, I want to pick his brain. So I'm still a baseball guy, and I still have coaching in my blood, in the future. But I'm like, man. And then let's go. Shoot, I'm old now. I'm 45. So this probably about 5 years ago, I'm telling the same story to my coaching staff at the ABCA. And as I'm telling the story, we're at the the hotel bar, and I look over. Travis Easy is sitting right there. I go, oh, that's him. That's the guy I'm talking about. And I look over, he looks at me, and he goes, he was inner city kid from Baltimore, man. He was rough. He's tough. And, he didn't take jokes too kindly sometimes, But we started talking. I go, remember that day? He goes, yeah, I was embarrassed. I go, yeah. I was like, I was just telling that story. So that's my one funny that I can think of, because like I said, there's other ones. I just
sure we're a PG podcast.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, it was good to see him be successful, and there was a lot of players too. Joel Hanrahan, made it to the big leagues. There was a bunch of them that you didn't know, and then all of a sudden it clicked, and they had good careers, and it was fun watching them, or coming to Coors Field and going down, shaking their hand, and congratulating them and everything. And you run into him. And Travis Easy is now a scout, and I run into him everywhere. We lost last year. We got knocked out of the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. And so my wife and I, we took a trip out to Grand Junction because Crowder was playing in the World Series. Guess who I ran into? Travis Easy. I'm like, dude, everywhere now.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So that's a good, fun story.
No, that's awesome. No, it's you're right. It's incredible who you meet. And you mentioned Ricky Bell, for those that don't know, is you got Buddy Bell.
He's the youngest of the three sons.
Youngest of all the Bells, youngest of Buddy Bell's sons. Yeah. So there's a what are the other ones? I'm driving.
I was trying to think of them as well.
Well, Bell for managing the Reds.
Yes. Man, I can't think of it.
Yeah. So you gotta get those names right, but yeah, no, that's awesome. So you
David Bell,
thank you.
Was one of them.
David Bell, yeah. So now you're in Colorado. You've been 13 years now. You've built this program to one of the better programs. Hold on one second. That's the beauty of doing podcasts from home. You got kids coming home from school and they start playing the piano and making noise.
I kicked my wife into the bedroom. You got to go.
You gotta go. So you're 13 years, you're at Mountain Vista. I when I was scouting with the Angels, I first started out with I had basically all of Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. And I was like, dude, like I'm gonna have Ron be my, you have your bird dog scouts, your associate
Right.
scouts, and try to get just an extra pair of eyes out there. And so I called you up, said, hey, dude. I think I made sure I was like, you're not scouting for anybody, right? Or like bird
Yeah.
dog for anybody.
Yeah.
So brought you on and obviously Colorado has had some great players come out of Colorado, but it's also because of maybe the climate, whatever the reasons are, it is difficult to draft kids out of high school. Typically, they have to go on to college at times, and even though, of course, there's been some. But let's talk about your program that you've built from basically into a pretty very solid program here. Tell us about what that's like for you and what your process has been there.
I think when I took over, I'm the third head coach in school history. The one started the schools, I think, were 21 years old.
Mm.
Keith Wall started it, came in, was a teacher, and they had a little bit of success here and there, just like a typical high school. Every 4 years, you have that group. And then Goldsberry was an assistant at Cherry Creek and then came over because at that time, I think Mark Johnson was 70 years old then. He's still coaching. I think he's 50 years in now. And, he don't see him retiring
I think he's trying to break a record or something, right? He's got.
I think he's scared of not coaching.
Yeah.
And what would happen if he didn't have baseball. So he just keeps going. So Goldsberry came in for 3 years and then took an athletic director position over at Cherry Creek. And that's when I came in. I had 2 returning starters. I had a summer program. That's right when I was hired, went right into summer ball. So I had a group, lost some of my dudes because I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't get to see them play. But what I did see play is we needed to learn the game of baseball. Under Gary Rourke, we had not a diary, but kind of a journal. And we had to know everything. We had an 80-question test in order to get your jersey. So you had to know every situation, where everybody was going. And that's kind of what I grew up on, is learning the game of baseball. And I started off, my first year that summer and the fall, I kept telling them, we're going to learn the game. We're going to learn the game of baseball and we're going to be better. And you're going to have to trust the process, just like everybody says. And, I get asked all the time, like, how did you build the culture? And I think the culture is you. A lot of these teams and these players, they kind to feed off the coach, and they kind of adapt and become like a second hand of the coach, and I'm a very aggressive, do the little things. My first 3 years, this is how you're wearing the uniform. This is what we're wearing. This is what we're doing. This is how you do it. And I had to stick with it. As a strength coach, I came in and they lifted 2 weeks out of the year. I'm like, that's not going to work for me.
Why
you call that lift? You call that lifting. I call that something to do for 2 weeks because you're bored.
Right.
So, I implemented the weights and I had 30 kids show up. And I have 4 levels. So I usually have 65, 70 kids in the program, about 90 try out. So I was like, 30. Okay, how am I going to get these 30? So my first year, I had a kid named Tommy Clothier. Great baseball instincts, knew the game, was talented, but, in Colorado, you're talented is average everywhere else. But he got a scholarship to Creighton. So I had 1 year with him, and I wish I'd have had 4, because the kid was a gamer. It was one of those kids that I'm going to move the infield or position him, and he's already doing it. One of those guys. And working out, he couldn't bench his weight. These guys were raw. And he ends up getting a scholarship to Creighton, and he decides to go out to Creighton, out to Nebraska, and work with the strength coach, take a class, and play ball out there for the summer. He comes back jacked. I mean, I'm like, okay. As a strength coach, you're like, okay.
Did
I
some
said,
more. Yeah.
and he's repping out pull-ups, which he couldn't do one when he was here. And he's doing 3 sets of 10, and all the kids are looking. And as a head coach, you have those kids throughout your years, if you're doing this long enough, that change the program.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, I'm a huge Rock fan. Love the Rock. He always talks about clanging, banging, and if things go wrong, you can always get in the weight room. And I kind of took that approach as we're going to get bigger, faster, stronger.
Right.
We need to. So when he came back, he worked out with us in the fall. And I said, do you mind talking to the players? He goes, I don't have no problem. And all he said was, listen, because they knew him and they knew how weak he was, when he left and he came back and he was jacked, and everybody's like, holy cow. And ever since then, I've had 70 to 80 kids in the weight room. We're a big school of 2,300. So football program wasn't as good at one point. And I think I had more baseball players than they had football.
Wow.
And so we kind of we owned the weight room. We were in there all the time. And then we fast forward 2 years, and I'm talking about the weight room because I felt like that's what our program was built, with some other things, culture-wise, on the field, learning the game and carrying yourself the right way and playing hard, sprinting on off the field. But with the weight room, we kind of got in there, and that was where I had 2 players, Will Dixon and Mark Mumpert. I think you remember you were out and around those times. Mark is now with the Indians as an infield coordinator. Will Dixon was the head coach out of Grand Junction, and ended up now he's got a big boy job and got a kid. And I think his wife's an assistant basketball coach at Colorado Mesa. But those 2 guys, we had a chance. We made the playoffs, and we had a chance to make a run. We just fell short because we hadn't been there before. So got nervous, got scared.
Yeah.
Lights got brighter, And those 2, as sophomores, said we wanted to have a team meeting. So from that team meeting is when we started morning workouts, because we didn't want to take away from fall baseball and doing stuff. So that's when morning 6 a.m. workouts started. It wasn't me, it was them. And from then on, I've had 70 to 80 kids every morning at 6 a.m. working out in the fall, which now they call beast mode phase.
Yeah.
So they get bigger, faster, stronger. And I think that's where a lot of high schools, I know in Colorado, I can't speak for everybody else across the country, but that's where I tried to take the college atmosphere. Whatever they're doing in college, we're going to do at the high school.
Why not?
One of my goals is I'm going to run Mountain Vista as a small college or a small JUCO. We do sports psychology, we do lifting, if they do it at the high school level, we're going to do it here at the college level. We're going to do it down here at the high school level. And that's where it kind of started, and now, people are afraid of change. They get intimidated. I'm not a small dude, so pretty hardcore. And so they bought in, and we jumped right in, and here we go. And I'm doing my research and getting all these workouts and talking to big time guys, and they bought in, And, when that class was seniors, everybody in the state was like, holy, these dudes are huge, And I think high school coaches forget about that, whether they're just a teacher or out of the building or whatever it is. They just don't do it. They start winter workouts or lifting in the winter workouts in December or January. I'm like, you're missing a whole opportunity. Because when your kids leave you, that's what they're going to do at college. As soon as they step foot in the fall on a campus, they're going to start lifting and doing individual workouts. So that's kind of where we started it, because that's what I knew coming in. Like, we need to get bigger, faster, stronger, and it's still in my blood. Here we go.
Yep.
And the other stuff would take care of itself, so that's kind of where I tell everybody our culture started. We own 6 a.m. We own the weight room. You watch that movie Friday Night Lights, and Billy Bob, he gets mad because the guys are flexing or whatever. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm
flexing in there with them.
We're flexing, sun's out, guns out, let's go,
right.
Stuff like that. And I think that's where the culture started, with the discipline and the structure of the morning workouts. And, the players buying in.
Yeah.
They saw the results. They felt it, they could see it visually. parents started to see it, and you get pushback from parents because it's change. This is new. What are we doing? This is hardcore. This is too much.
Well, and they have to drive them probably to
Oh, well,
unless they're
juniors and seniors. It was the freshman, sophomore mommies and
Yeah,
daddies that
they're
were
like,
upset.
wait,
I got to get up
for 2 years.
wait a minute. So I truly believe that's where our culture started. And, everything started to go in a direction where we were successful. We were my first 6 years, and I know this because, as coaches, you look, and then I had an opportunity to talk at our local coaching clinic. And it was like, I'm 12 years in. What did I do my first 6 years? Oh, that year is when I changed my hitting philosophy, this, and this. Because the first 6 years, we were knocking on the door. We made it to Final Fours. We just couldn't get over the hump. So, and then the last 6 years, we've been one of the most successful teams in the state. And it's sometimes you got to look in the mirror when you're banging on the door of a state championship. I took it personal, and I looked myself in the mirror. I was like, what am I not doing? Dug in, did a little research, and had an old teammate from New Hampshire called me up out of the blue. His name's Adam Wright, but we call him Bobo. It's a long story about that. But he, first words out of his mouth is, what's your attack angle? What's your guys' launch angle? What do you guys do there? I'm like, what are you talking about? I was a swing down guy. Swing down, that's what I was taught all my life. And so with me, with anything I do, I once I get digging, I go down that rabbit hole. And after my 6th year that summer, we changed our hitting philosophy and our base running philosophy. And I wanted our overall philosophy being, let these athletes be athletes in high school.
So tell me about that part of it. So you changed the hitting philosophy. What did you start at, and what did you go to?
So I went into the hitting. I started digging into the launch angle, and I realized we live in Colorado, that the ball travels far, that we don't really have to get to a certain launch angle. And launch angle has been around for 100 years. They just labeled it, put a name to it, and if you get to the proper hitting position, like I use the foundation. Our hitting philosophy is the foundation. Everything comes from the ground up, and we hit the lower half hard. And then we just changed a few things, with the style and how we attack the baseball. And I still have guys. I have a guy on my team right now, a 9-hole. Dude, you got to hit the ball down. You got to swing. You're not a launch angle guy.
You're still picking your guys on who's utilizing that type of stuff, if you will.
We're not cookie cutter, and if anything, cookie cutter hitting wise, it's our lower half. I want to be able to someone to walk up, say yourself, walk up, former big league guy. Oh, that's a Mountain Vista guy. I can tell by his lower half.
What kind of do you guys focus on certain drills for the lower half? Give me
we do or two. One. What I find working with, we have a feeder program. I work with youth hitting over at Slammers. I'm a director of hitting at Slammers. I think one of my biggest things is these kids, they don't know how to use their lower half.
Yeah.
You tell them to get in an athletic position, and they don't know how to do that.
They still stand up straight.
They stand straight up, or their butt sinks back. They're not in a good, 30% hinge position. And this all comes back to the strength conditioning as well. So a lot of our lower half work was a lot of low T. I mean, before they made low T's, we were hitting off Gatorade bottles. We called it the Beltray drill. How many times you see Adrian Beltray go do a knee and hit a home run? So we called it that. We want them to feel their lower half. So now we have a Bellinger drill, their feet together, stride out, pause, feel that stride, feel that power. We did a lot of back knee work along with like med ball throws. A lot of guys want to throw the med ball from up here. Well, we come down here because we go hips, chest, hands. Our hips, our lower half's our power. So trying to change that was big with the hitting. Base running, I think I had the stat, and we stole 23 bases a year. And at that point, we were playing 19 games in Colorado, which is not a lot of baseball, but 23 stolen bases. And we had more sack bunts than stolen bases.
Wow.
Well, after 6 years changing the hitting, we changed our base running were the moving, getting some momentum, timing, and just giving the guys a green light, letting them be athletes. And we average 87.7 stolen bases a year now. and definitely don't sack bunt as much.
Mhm.
And you got to have the athletes to do it. We have the speed to do it this year, but we also are sack bunting a lot and doing more situational where the teams that you saw, we had power.
Mhm.
The year we won it in 18, we had 58 home runs and didn't hit a home run our first 6 games of the season.
Hmm.
And we stole 123 bags that year.
Okay.
So a lot of it is being athletes and just causing chaos on the bases, and then you get the question, well, they know we're going to run. I go, awesome. Because what do they say once you get on base? Hey, mix it up, do that, and then I tell the hitters, get ready.
Yeah, that fastball's coming, right?
Fastball's coming because they don't want to mess up because they know we're running. So that has changed our game and our style. We're averaging 20 wins a season. Since then, we've won 2 state championships. We've been in the final 8, 6 years in a row until last year we got upset. So we're trying to get back to that this year. It's a younger group, not as powerful, even though we hit 2 home runs yesterday, which was fun. But I think you have to adapt to what you have and what you know.
Right.
One of my goals is knowing every player in my program. I have 68 kids in my program right now. And I know every single one of them, and I know how they swing. I know how they play. So it's just a matter of how do you fast track your dudes, to get up there. We have 3 freshmen on the varsity right now, and our starting rotation is junior, sophomore, junior. So we're looking good for next year with a bunch of young guys coming up in the pen. This year we're not as powerful. We're still stealing bases, doing what we can, but it's taking that fear out of running, taking that fear out of getting thrown out.
Okay.
So that's kind of the big changes that I've seen in my first 6 seasons to my last 6.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned earlier you started to we had a call before this to kind of check in, and you're like, man, this year I feel like a psychiatrist, like a psychologist. Tell us a little bit about, because you have 60 to 70 players every year coming in from freshman to senior, different levels of, I guess, mental capacity, right? Their brains are still growing, they're still trying to figure it out. Tell us what that experience is like with working like different age groups and what you help supply for them.
Right. Like I said before, if they're doing it at the college level, we're going to try to do it here. I want my kids prepared on the field and off the field when they go to the next level, because you want those college coaches coming back to your school, recruiting more kids. This year I've had to dig deep in my toolbox, man. I've talked about it, touched on it a little bit earlier, is that I've been fortunate in my 13 years that most of the players had my DNA. And this team does not, and it's not that they're not talented. I just think it's where we are in society today. I think we tend to blame and point the finger than being held accountable. And when you're held accountable, it's hard for some of these kids. So as a coach that is very, very aggressive, very, do it the right way, do it this way. I struggled at first, but I had to dig deep in the toolbox, and we started hitting the mental stuff in January because I kind of knew it was coming. I didn't know how bad.
You felt it.
And I found out very quickly. But I think you have to handle every kid differently. It's like every coach will tell you, you got a kid that you can get on and tell him, say whatever you got to say to get him pumped up, and he's ready to go. That's the type of player I was. You could yell at me and tell me I messed up, tell me what to do, and then I did it. Now it's, you got to hug some kids. You got to talk to them like this. You got to lower your voice, and it's not that I'm a yeller. I love the preparation. I love practice more than I love games sometimes, because that's where we get the work in. The game should be fun and just go play, because you don't want to do too much coaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If a kid's hitting, you don't want to break a swing down while he's hitting, and then then he's really messed up. So, as a head coach, you got to learn sometimes your assistant coaches can say whatever they want. And as a head coach, you can't say the same thing because they think you're yelling at them. So
right.
I've done a better job this year of going, okay, you have this group, you have this group, you have this group of guys. And, I still talk and do my thing, but when it comes to a play or a mental mistake or something, or a kid having an issue, I'm like, hey, go talk to him. And then if I need to, I'll jump in. Delegating more, because one, I'm the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to feel like, as head coaches, and sometimes it's true because I've been there before, where sometimes you feared the head coach. But back then it was because back in the day, they just got on you. You played football, they'll grab your face mask and this and that. And they don't take, I'm very hardcore on the little things.
Mm-hmm.
I see things that, some of my assistants don't see, and I'm very like, you didn't do this, you got to do this. And he takes it as me yelling, so I had to do a better job of kind of stepping back and delegating my position coaches, like, hey, go talk to him.
So you might have to be like, hey, I saw this.
Yes.
The middle infield did this, instead of, in your standing, say, off to the side, instead of yelling at them across the, like, this loud voice, you might go to
sometimes you have to yell across the field.
But you might go to your infield coach and be like, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but I saw this. Like, you need to go take care of that type thing.
Right. Or just little things too. Just not, we always tell our kids, you go 100%, it's baseball. Things are going to happen. You're going to make an error. You're going to strike out. You're going to, whatever it is. You see big league guys do it. I felt that if a kid didn't do something, like he didn't run something out, or he didn't back up, and I went and got, talked to him about it. Example, I had, our 2 base running rules are take the fear out of getting thrown out and run.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever hesitate, just shut it down. Well, my player hesitated and then decided to go and was thrown out by 5 feet. And all I did was, what's our rule?
Mm-hmm.
And the parent thought I was yelling.
Yeah.
And I didn't raise my voice. I just said, what's our rule? So learning to adapt to that, but still being me in the same sense.
So on that note, just real quick. So I think the frustrating part for coaches, like, well, he yelled at my son.
Oh yeah.
Who cares? Like, why can't you let your son be disciplined and coached by the coach? Right. And the reason I bring this up, because not only do, when we go through coaching athletes, but the parents also need kind of an awakening of, yeah, my son's gonna get yelled at, my daughter's gonna get yelled at, or the voice is gonna be raised to get a point across. You need to be okay with that, parent. You need to allow that to happen, because this is the real world, and they know that.
Right.
These parents know that.
It's our generation.
But that's what, like, talking to parents, and it's almost like you need to just let it happen. Like, they're fine. Like, you need to work on what your thoughts and feelings and your emotions are surrounding your little baby getting what you feel is scolded. Like, no, they're being talked to, or they're being coached. It's called being coached, right? In this setting, right? So I just, it's just interesting.
Yeah, it's tough because 45, I'm old school, and like I said, it's not like I'm a yeller. You get those new coaches that come in and they think, oh, I got to yell because that's what coaching is. It's like, no,
yeah,
that's my job. I'm the bad guy. You guys are all the good guys. And even we have a coach on my staff, great guy, young, and the coaches call me Papa Bear and call him Mama Bear, and he's like, well, bad cop, good cop.
Good cop, yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Papa Bear, Mama Bear.
But it's true. Like, there's got to be some balance somewhere,
right?
And it's usually like, that's how my high school experience was. My high school coach was very tough and strong, and you had some balance surrounding the assistants, right? And that's kind of like you were saying,
have to make it work.
Someone's got to be that guy,
right?
Everyone can't be the more softer, timid guy. There's got to be the head honcho, right? The alpha male, if you will.
Right. And I have 2 former head coaches on my staff, and, they can say whatever because they're the assistants.
Mm-hmm.
They could say the same thing that I say, and the kids take like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
and then, it comes in. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, you got to find that balance of how to adapt, but not lose yourself as a coach and who you
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
and we talked about it, the culture, this is what it is. And I'm sorry, but if one of my assistants the other day, we lost to a team that we shouldn't have lost to, but we did. And, they're all looking down and everything. And he goes, I'm just going to tell you right now, that's how Q is. And if you can't take Q, how are you going to make it at college? Because those guys put dinner on the table.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. We do it because we love the game. We love being out here and coaching you. So if you can't take him, I don't know how you're going to make it at college, because those guys, yeah, they're going to tell you the best thing since sliced bread until you get on campus. So it's just it's one, yes, coaching them, and then you do need that support from the parents as well, because what happens is you coach them and they go home, it's okay. It's okay. And then the accountability part too, I think is huge.
Well,
Kids
like
don't
as a
know how to be
parent,
accountable now.
yeah, like as a parent, it is like that's kind of learning to be a parent too. Like I need to be able to allow this to happen, right? Where it's hurting me inside to see my baby get yelled at, like, because I don't want him to be hurt, right? And his feelings hurt and all that stuff. So it's like it's a process too of
Right.
learning.
And also, if you think about it too, and I've asked my players this: what is the definition of discipline? What is discipline in your mind? Like, what do you think discipline is? And the first thing, punishment. And I'm like,
getting yelled at.
discipline to me is being organized, prepared, preparing for the game, preparing for school, preparing for life, being organized in life, having your, we talk with Brian Kane and Zach, we talk about having your 168 and 168 hours. And I've talked to my players about that. You have kids, 68 kids, 5 of them struggle with homework, struggle with grades, and it comes down to, I get the grades, I look it up and see what's going on, see where they're failing or what's, they're taking an AP class. I can kind of get it, it's hard, but 90% of the time it's just they're not turning in homework. They're just being lazy, or it's done, but they don't turn it in, or whatever it is. And it's like, we got to find a way to get organized.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a 5 o'clock guy. I work out every morning. My morning routine, my AM routine, I have to get it in, or my day is not good.
Yeah.
So it's that routine of being prepared and organized is what discipline is. Getting up and working out every day, preparing yourself to play a game, doing this, So I think kids these days, when they hear the word discipline, automatically go to punishment.
Yeah. And that's where the teaching and coaching comes in, right? It's like, no, it's like we're at the end of the day, and parents know this too, like we're preparing you for life, right? We're preparing you for when you do leave the house, right? You do want to have a routine, right? You do want to be disciplined. And as a dude, as a guy who's going to get married at some point and have kids, that's your responsibility as a man, right? To go in and take care of those things and take care of your family. I think your kids are going to eventually want to see, oh, look at my dad. Like he does all these things and look at where he is, or how successful he is, or how he approaches life, right? He's not the guy that's, we know what happens to those people that are not disciplined, right?
Right. And we talk about that. We talk about that as well, as what is a man? What is the definition of a man, and what is that? And there's multiple definitions of what a man is, but I struggle sometimes too. Is I got an 8-year-old son, and then I got 68 kids up at the field that I consider my sons as well. And you walk that fine line nowadays is, how do you teach him to be a man when sometimes we frown upon what a man is?
Yeah.
And what I mean is, like, tough, strong. You gotta, don't cry. It's okay to cry sometimes. I get emotional when I talk about my players, when I talk about my kids. At the end of the season, we're a spring sport, so I see them summer, fall, winter, spring, and they're not. then they go, my seniors, and I get emotional because sometimes I spend more time with them than I do with my own kids.
Right. Yeah.
So it's okay to show feelings, but I think there's a fine line of that, and that's where we struggle sometimes of teaching our young men how to be men. And with the society that we live in these days, it's hard sometimes, and I struggle with it.
Sure. Yeah. We're humans.
I think we all do.
Right.
Because I want my son to be strong, tough, and he's got the biggest heart in the world. And it's like, he goes, I know, Dad, I can't cry. I'm like, well, if it hurts, that's one thing, but if you're crying over something that you shouldn't be crying over, then come on, we're just playing catch here. Why are you getting mad at me? I'm trying to help you. So,
yeah, that's fantastic, man. Yeah. So you have an 8-year-old son. Tell us about your kids. What do they do?
I got a 12-year-old daughter, she's 5'7". I always say I want to meet the milkman because I want to thank him because I don't know where she got it. Volleyball.
You're like 6'1", aren't you?
No, 6 and shrinking, man.
Okay. Spine's getting smaller, kind of.
Yeah. So I got a scap load. But no, she's in volleyball, club volleyball, first year, enjoying it. Love seeing the progress of her growing as a daughter. Getting ready to get into she's in middle school right now and dealing with all that. And then, watching her grow as a volleyball player, because this time last year I was like, ooh, sis, I don't know. We got to work.
Yeah.
But 5'7", all she has to do is jump up and spike a little bit, and she's learning. And super proud of her. Her last weekend of tournaments is this weekend. So, and then now my boy, 8U, first year of baseball, if he puts his uniform on right, I'm happy.
Yeah. We wear caps and sleeves at this level.
Yeah, hey, just no. You missed a belt loop.
Yeah,
we wear this. We don't wear a hoodie over the. Okay, he knows where to go on position wise. I'm like, okay.
There you go.
And then for me with him, he's 8. And I never wanted to be that dad that wanted to shove baseball down his throat. You're playing baseball. You're doing this, and I wanted him to play if he wanted to play.
Right.
He's right now talking to him like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I don't know where this kid came from, but he goes, I want to work for NASA and be an engineer and build houses on the side. And I'm like, who are you? And
start designing my house. That's what you're saying,
right? And I'm like, okay. So
that's amazing. That's
I mean, not being biased. The kid's intelligent. I know he's going to do bigger and better things in baseball.
Dude, screw
baseball helps him, but if baseball helps, well, yeah, that's what. Like I said, I wanted him to play. I didn't want to force it down him. And, being around me a lot and around the boys, he wanted to play. So, he gets a lot of help from the other sons, my other kids and coaches. Everybody loves him. Great kid, both of them, great kids. So he's learning the game right now. He's, he got hit by a pitch. So about 2 or 3 weeks, we're jumping out of the box.
Oh yeah. It's very like, when I dabble with lessons, that young age comes in, they're like, and it's mom's like, he's terrified of the ball. I'm like, yeah, he's going to be for a little while. He got hit. I'm like, yeah, he might not get back in there till next year. Right.
Who knows?
Like, we could sit there and throw tennis balls at him or wiffle balls. And like, is that going to do a whole lot?
Trying to toughen him up, but that doesn't.
Let's yell at him.
But even it's those points too. It's like we could throw batting practice to him or whatever, and he stays in there and he's got a good little left-handed swing. And I said, well, how come you don't step out of the box there? He goes, well, I trust you.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that, man. So no, they're doing great. But like I said, they're learning. They're both getting into it. She tried middle school volleyball and loved it, which wasn't anything, just to kind of roll the balls out and let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And got her on a club team. We were late to the game because she decided she wanted to play, but found a team that needed someone. And she was 5'7". And we walked in, the coach looked at her and was like, okay, you're 12?
Yeah. We got something here, right?
Okay. So it's fun, and I enjoy doing those things, and coaching, and then being able to go watch them play a little bit and sit back and not say anything, even though the baseball coaches, it's slammers and like, hey, why don't you coach third today? Sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
I'm good.
Kind of just watch. I like to watch.
Watching's kind of fun.
I like to walk around.
Right.
Do my own thing because I deal with parents every day.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
his mom, his coach is a little older guy, and we're going to run if we don't do this. We're going to run if we don't do that. We'll do push-ups. And she's like, do you like that? Do you hear how he's talking? And I go, okay.
That's
What?
fine.
You're okay with that? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
They need it.
Yeah. And he
They
loves
need
it.
it.
He's in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And Master J is, man, he's, pardon my French, but he's a hard ass. Like,
right.
He's
So
very on it.
this is reminding me. So my daughters in particular, my 17 and 14-year-old, they've been watching Dance Moms.
Oh,
which is just hysterical, comical.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a show, so there's probably extra drama attached to it. But number one, like how the parents are just like in the room, like there's a dance studio below, then they're up there kind of chit-chatting, and but then sometimes they're in the studio, and I'm just what drives me crazy in a way, I'm like, why are they in the room? Right? Is it because they're little kids, I guess, but
that's like, why is your mom in the dugout right now? Why?
Yes.
What is she doing?
Yes. And I'm like, and so like the choreographer, like the dance instructors are like, I can't operate like this. Like, this is my vision, my creativity. And I got parents right here telling me how to do something wrong, or don't talk to my daughter or my kid that way. Right. And he's just trying to coach them. Right. And in his way of what he knows and knows how to do. And yeah, if the voice gets raised a little bit, then the parent can't handle it. Like, they're not talking to my kid that way. Right. And it's like, allow it. Right. Allow your kid to, like, yeah, if your kid cries, they need to learn how to allow it.
They need to learn how to feel sometimes.
They need to learn how to feel that emotion of what it feels like for somebody to get on you, and learn how to work through it. Right. And that's what we have a hard time with as parents, that not my baby. They're not going to talk to my baby that way.
I mean, I think I put it as, when I've talked to parents before, it's, you're an accountant. I don't tell you what to do. I let you do your job because I'm not an accountant. I'm a baseball coach. We have 70 plus years of coaching experience up here, but I do have the opposite too. I have a handful of parents that are hard on their kids.
Yeah.
I can name
maybe extreme, like go past the line, right?
They are extreme, to where you got to go, hey, he's on deck.
Yeah.
Let him play, like,
get out of his ear, right?
And those are the parents, once they get in the car or they get home, they're just, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And we talk about how we tune out. You got to tune everything out. Like, guys, your walk-up songs you play every game. I couldn't tell you what they are or what. I don't hear them because I'm tuned in. I like to say I'm 3 innings ahead of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no clue, but we got to find a way to tune that out, because raise your hand if it affects you when your dad's yelling at you when you're on the mound and you don't throw a strike. And they all raise their hands.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, well, did your dad play high school or college baseball or any high level baseball? No. I go, okay. Listen to him about life and everything else. But when it comes to baseball, you got to find a way to tune that out, man.
Yeah. And you're right, though, in a way, it's extra noise, right? So that's when the player has to be like, okay, yeah, dad's talking to me or chirping at me on deck or on the mound. Now I need to take the responsibility and just tune them out.
Right.
Like, as the player, right? And then, because
one voice.
It's difficult because, hey, parent, you need to stop chirping at your son, because you're now the interference. You're the problem.
Right.
Now he's trying to please you instead of focusing on what he needs to do.
And another example too that you run in at the high school level is everybody has a coach.
Right.
You have the head coach and your assistant coaches in the program that see you every day.
Right.
Then you have a hitting coach, whatever. And then you have dad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if everybody's talking, the one person that we're affecting or hurting is the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't want to disappoint dad, doesn't want to disappoint his hitting coach, doesn't want to disappoint the head coach. So we try to work with, I don't care if you have a hitting coach, a pitching coach, strength coach, whatever.
Right.
But we got to find one voice. And I always go, how many times has your hitting coach been to a game?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's ever. I'm like, Okay. Who's been here every day?
Yep.
You, brother? Okay.
I've seen I've seen every one of your at
Yeah.
bats, right?
I got you on film. We have you on film. We broke down your film. Yeah, you can go to your hitting coach. Well, I popped up 3 times. He's like, I got it. You're probably dipping.
Mm-hmm.
$80. Thank you. And then dad, just who knows it. And you have dads that I have dads in our program that have played pro ball. John Burke, #1 draft pick of the Rockies. His sons came through my program, and he was awesome. Like, he was hands off. Actually, was my bullpen coach for a while, working the bullpen, getting guys ready. But he was hands off, and he was awesome. But then you have some other dads that played pro ball, and they know it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have those dads that played pro ball. Take Tony Gwynn, for example. Tony Gwynn just knew how to hit. Might coach it a little bit, but it just came so easy to them, they couldn't coach it. I thought I was going to listen to this great speech by Tony Gwynn talking about hitting. He was like, get in the box, stay level, see ball, hit ball. Okay. Drills? Top hand 100 swings, bottom hand 100 swings, 2 hands 200 swing. There you go. You're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're keeping it simple. So
KISS method.
You get all that, and at the high school level, because those guys have played pro ball, they sometimes don't respect the high school coach because they don't know. I don't talk about what we talked about at the beginning here, my career. I don't talk about it. I'm done. My days are over. My job is to get you ready. And when I do send kids out to a college visit to Crowder, and I'm in the Hall of Fame there, and they see my plaque, they go, "Oh,
you could hit.
You did play." I'm like, yes, I did. Yes. But I don't talk about it, so because it's not my time. I always say, let the kids play. I'll get in there and swing every once in a while, but I'm 45 and one wrong swing and I'm out for a week with a back injury. So, but it's just a dynamic of 68 kids and they're all different.
Yeah. And that's probably the fun part of it, right? It
is, even when I struggle with this year, I feel like it's making me a better coach because I'm documenting everything. Like I got my master's with Brian Kane and that certification for his mental sports performance. I'm in that book constantly. And whatever I did that day, I take a note. That way, if it comes back up another year, I can dig back in and be like, okay, we did this, it worked. I feel like it's making me a better coach because I have to dig deep into my toolbox and do a little bit more. Because it's not about the reps, it's not about the situation, everything we do. It's more here that I got to try to figure out and motivate these kids. And it's hard enough to motivate kids anyway to play every day.
Well, we talked about too about you could definitely say there's different mindsets because some kids are there, they're just going to play high school baseball and they know this and they're kind of, let's say 50% in, right? Then there's the kid that wants to go college or even pro ball or have that even opportunity. Now they're like 90, 100, they're all in, if you will.
Right.
So would you say that effort level can show up in practices and at the gym?
Well, yeah, we talked about it before. You might have that kid that's a 6'4" offensive lineman that's going to play football at Wyoming.
Yeah.
He's there to play baseball because he loves baseball and he happens to be somewhat good at it. In our situation, I think a lot of our kids are JUCO guys, but they're 4.0s.
Right.
They carry a 4.0 and they're going to go to Auburn or Gonzaga, wherever their parents went to school because they're not D1 players. D1 players, they notice those guys early. And you're going into your senior year. And yes, there's a place for everybody if they really want to play college baseball. But, we run into our guys, a lot of our guys are JUCO guys. I've had a handful. You were around the time where I had the 2-time player of the year, 5 all-state guys. That year was ridiculous. That comes every once in a while. I got kids at KU, GCU, Minnesota, Oral Roberts, and they're playing well. But there's also those D2, D3s, and JUCO guys. And the JUCO guys, they want to play baseball. for whatever reason, they don't have a 4.0 or grades, that's where they should go. And that's good. But sometimes my dudes are 4.0s and they're not at D1 level yet. And they should go JUCO, but they're not because they're 4.0s and they're going to go on and do bigger and better things. And I have the 21 team that won it had 4 guys go on and play college baseball. The rest of them are now just going to school.
Yeah.
Out of my starters, 4 of them were D1 guys. The rest of them, they're all Penn State, Oklahoma, just going to school.
Mm-hmm.
But they loved the game enough. That group came together. They loved it enough that they wanted to go out on top. Where sometimes you got to find that. As a coach, how do you find that glue to bring them together? Be like, he's going to football. He's going to get his pilot's license. This guy's doing this. How do we bring that together? And I think that's the fun part sometimes when it comes together. You might struggle at first because everybody's kind of doing their thing. But when it comes together, it's fun. And I think sometimes that process of finding that out is the fun part.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
awesome. Well, this has been great, man. It's a lot of stuff's going on out in your area and
yeah, a lot of good baseball out here, man. It's getting better.
A lot of good baseball. It's definitely it continues to grow, and we see more and more, like, not that you're a small town, but Denver area, St. George in Utah, like kind of some, not St. George is necessarily a cold climate, but some of the colder climates we're seeing better players, right? Continue to get out there. And so I know you're a big part of that. So kudos to you. So
appreciate it.
Well, man, any other stories or words of wisdom you want to leave with us here?
Man, just get your mind right, man. Like I say it every day, it's game day. So my text to the boys is get your mind right, and I say it every day. We've had on 21, we put it on our state championship rings and that culture that we've built as a baseball program, as far as getting your mind right and all this stuff, it's fun walking the hall or in the Highlands Ranch area, which is kind of a small community as well. As I'll see a mom or dad or another coach walking down the aisle because I'm going to the grocery store and they see me and they go, get your mind right. So it's touching and it's growing and I think it's fun seeing the little kids as well, like that want to come to Vista. We built the program and the culture to where it is, and it's fun. One of my goals back in the day was, Rocky Mountain. You're familiar with Rocky Mountain? They won 4 straight. Well, we played them in the playoffs, and I looked around, and there was these little kids running around with Rocky Mountain T-shirts.
Yeah,
Rocky Mountain baseball everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's where I want my program to be when it's all said and done. I want kids running around with Mountain Vista hats and baseball stuff, and we're there, which is fun. It's when you're eating at a restaurant like Los Dos is one of our favorite areas around here, and there's a little kid playing for the Warriors, and I just sit down and I hear, that's Coach Q.
Yeah.
And you hear that, and it's fun. And then you turn around and you're like, hey, man, did you play today? How you doing? And then the dad, and then here comes dad. Well, his stats. Like, all right, he's in 6th grade. We'll put it off, but we have camp, so come on out. So it's fun and building the culture, and that's where it is. Once you establish that culture, it's fun.
Yeah.
That small, Colorado's big. It's a city. It's not like Neosho, Missouri, or these small towns where everybody grows up and the town shuts down when it's game day or whatever. But I wanted to bring that small town family vibe to our city or little suburb of Highlands Ranch. And we're there and it's fun. So we just got to keep grinding. We got another tough one tonight, and hopefully we can play. I got my coaches out there on the field right now, so I haven't got a call yet, so that's good.
Yeah, you're good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this has been outstanding. Congrats, with your success and everything that's going on. We'll definitely be in touch and keep that culture up. You're obviously touching a lot of lives, like a lot of bodies every year, and you got these kids coming up, and like you said, it's like you're creating almost that college atmosphere where kids want to be there, right? And like I can't wait to get to Mountain Vista, right? When I grow up and get in that weight room. So thanks for coming on, Q, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.